On this sink that I'm installing, I need to 3D print a riser that lifts the sink higher up. I'm installing this sink and I need it to be about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch higher than what it is now with this spacer. So I'm gonna 3D print a new one, but this is a abnormal shape. It's not just a square that you can dimension. So I'm gonna show you a really easy way to make a rough profile of this and be able to 3D print that same shape. Basically what I'm going to do is take a top-down image just like this, and then whenever I'll take it into a software like Inkscape and I'll trace the outline around here, and then once I have that outline traced out, I really only need to dimension, say, one dimension. So if I measure from that edge to that edge and say it's like 3 inches, then the rest of the part should fall into dimension as well. Now with the image in place, I'm going to start marking out the lines. Alright, now I've got the part traced, and that took maybe 5 minutes. It's a really simple part to trace. And now what I'm going to do is give it a height dimension that is what the original spacer is. What I'm going to do is measure right here real lightly, because this is rubber, it can conform. So let's say that's about 2 inches, 340 thousandths, so 2.34 inches. With the ratio locked, I'm going to set the height dimension to 2.34, and then that's the actual size of this spacer. We can also check some of the other dimensions. So if we look at this, the width of this is a little bit more than 6 inches. And the width here is 6.062, so that looks good. The way that I'm going to solidify the SVG is taking it into Blender, going to File, Import, and then Scalable Vector Graphics, which is the .svg. Here's the SVG file. It's just flat, and something really simple I'm going to do is just select it, go over to the Modifiers tab, add a modifier, and the modifier that I'm going to add is Solidify, which is right there. It looks like a little cube. And you'll see that it already makes it look solidified, and I'm going to make this 0.015. Now this isn't a extremely accurate method. This is just something I need to kind of roughly get in the right area. It's not something that needs to be very accurate. So that's why I'm able to basically eyeball this, because I know that the space between here is close to about 200 thousandths, which is a little bit less than 1/4 inch. So I want it to be at least double that, so about 400 thousandths, so 1.05 or even 1.04 is about the height that I want this spacer to be. I've got this imported into the slicing software. I'm using Ultimaker Cura because I'll be using the Creality CR10. Right now it's a pretty small part, so what I'm going to do is enter the dimensions for X and Y, which is in millimeters. So what I'll need to do is convert that dimension that I got right here into millimeters. The conversion is from 2.35 inches to 59.69 millimeters. Now we'll go ahead and scale up our part, and that looks good. There's the completed slice, so let's go ahead and export it to the 3D printer. You can see the model's pretty close to the actual thing. The part really needs to be black, so I'm going to change out from white filament to black filament. Everything's heating up, and the print should begin soon. And it'll start to print. And it just finished printing, and that matches up really nicely. And that fits really nice. We'll put this in, and what that does is it raises this up a little bit higher because that sensor was sensing the ridge of the sink here, so now it won't sense that and it'll actually feel your hand. And that looks really nice. It probably only took maybe 10-20 minutes to do all the modeling, and then it took about 2 hours to print. So in about 3 hours you're able to have that part printed out, and it's exactly what you need, and it looks really nice.